Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're reviewing for you Splatoon 3's Side Order on the Nintendo Switch. This review was originally written by, it's me again, so it was me who wrote it. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Splatoon 3's Side Order has been dangling just out of reach since it was revealed in 2023, but Wave 2 of the DLC has finally landed for the Splatoon 3 Expansion Pass owners. Nearly 5 years after the release of Splatoon 2's Octo expansion, Agent 8's story continues in the drab and colourless world of the Memverse, but is it worth the train fare to reach this particular station? Let's be blunt, Side Order is a roguelite, meaning that there's a series of semi-random levels you must beat sequentially in order to triumph. The catch, if you run out of lives, you're sent right back to the start. Note the T in the genre name though, as unlike a roguelike, you can unlock bonuses and boons to make each subsequent run up the tower just that little bit easier. It's a tried and true formula, and in typical Splatoon style, it gels beautifully with the base game's mechanics. Once you've picked your loadout, known as pallets in game, and each containing a bit of the soul of an in-universe character, yikes! You'll be tackling each floor of a large tower. Things start off almost painfully basic, but you'll notice you'll be unlocking a little boost to your stats with each floor in the form of color chips, and sweet beans, you're gonna need them. Side Order is hard. There are ways you can mitigate the difficulty through Marina's permanent upgrades or by selecting floors of easier difficulty when presented with the option, but even seasoned squids/kids will have a tough time here. It's not impossible, far from it, but expect some sweaty, sweary sessions as you reach the upper floors, and the randomized color chips you're offered really aren't helpful. Just give me run speed up, you stupid game! It's worth it though. The satisfaction from grinding failed runs until finally reaching the tippy top and possibly dying to the final boss is tremendously addictive, and as soon as you've managed it once, you'll be desperate to jump back in with another pallet to be beaten into the dirt once again because you're used to an overpowered splatling and not a bare-bones splat charger. But a roguelite lives or dies on its variety and its ability to surprise and test you, and with Side Order, that's where things get slightly less rosy. Don't get us wrong, there's plenty of diversity in some areas. For example, the color chips you choose can make one run entirely different to another, even if you're using exactly the same palette. You could create a slosher that can essentially snipe enemies for massive damage from an impressively safe distance, or make your ink cover the ground by the much larger bucketful, poisoning and killing any enemies that are forced to wade through it, or ignore your main entirely and just keep charging and executing your special with little to no cooldown. Or get the Pearl Drone to do everything, or force enemies to drop bombs when they die, causing a chain reaction, or roll around at the speed of sound so enemies can never even get close to you. Suffice it to say, there's an incredible number of options in how you complete each floor, and it's a delight. Unfortunately, the floors themselves seem to dry up in terms of variety disappointingly early. As we just said, the way you complete them can change every time, but there are only 5 potential objectives, so you'll be repeating things a lot over several runs. There are more maps than this, but some maps can seemingly accept any objective, whereas others are locked to a single one. It's the same with the boss levels as well, which occur every 10 floors, with the final boss being on the 30th. They're great fights and a joy to blast through in all the different ways that you can, but the total number within the pool, excluding the final boss, is a paltry 3. We'll delight in the strange screeching sounds of the asynchronous rondo every time we fight it, but given that the design of this genre demands repeated playthroughs, we'd really like to have seen more. It's just as well that the palettes and color chips offer as much flexibility and variety as they do. There is one area where objectives and maps shake things up, and that's on the odd occasion you get a danger floor. These are marked as such, and although you can just ignore them, doing so will mean that they show up again later and can eventually become unavoidable. The prospect of losing your run because the map is suddenly shrouded in darkness, entirely covered in enemy ink from the start, or your Pearl Drone is just out to lunch or something is undeniably thrilling, and even if the objectives and map are the same as you've had before, this added danger forces you to get your big shoes on. Sometimes these danger floors can even have more than one effect active simultaneously. Zoinks. Given that the theming of the DLC is centered around turning everything into a monochromatic amalgam, and the very limited color palette that demands, it's impressive just how unboring Side Order looks. The stark contrast between the plain off-white backdrop, the void-like black ink of the gelatin enemies, and the oversaturated streaks of color you impose upon the landscapes is really something. Performance is great as well, although that was probably to be expected. The game seems unshakable from its 60 FPS target, although we did notice a few distant enemies running at a lower frame rate in order to maintain this goal. Having said that, the amount of chaos happening on screen meant that we literally only noticed it once though, so fair play Nintendo. And the music, oh the music! Splatoon as a series is no stranger to bangers of every flavour, but Side Order may have some of the best we've had grace our ear holes thus far, with one track in particular reminding us of the Guardian battle music from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And yes, we broke out in a cold sweat. Splatoon 3 Side Order is an excellent addition to Splatoon 3 and helps to give it a stronger identity over its predecessors. Whilst we'd like to have seen more variety in stages and objectives, the overwhelming number of options on your weaponry and how you upgrade them makes sure that things don't get too repetitive. We found ourselves repeatedly coming back to try just one more run, which naturally turned into 5, so that should speak for itself. Splatoon fans rejoice, it's another goodie. You've reached the end of the review. Would be time for Alex's personal thoughts, but I wrote the review. So let me just say a few extra little things just for you, the YouTube audience, you lucky sausages. Despite the lack of variety and things like that, I've still been absolutely loving Side Order. It does lack in the variety of the objectives and everything like that, I cannot deny, and that is a bit of a thorn in its side, and, you know, it would have scored much higher if it had had a bit more of that. But even taking that into consideration, this is still a hell of a time, and it's really designed for the fans, 100%. The sheer inventiveness you can have with the weapons, like, I've had so much fun with weapons that I never would have used otherwise. Although I'm still no good with the splat charger. I tried it out, and I had the worst luck, I swear. You know, did I get any charge speed up? No. Did I get, or fire rate, whatever it would be? I don't know, because I haven't found it. I got to like the 15th floor with the splat charger, and the only useful thing I really got was range up, and like distance damage up. And that was it. And those things just aren't that useful when you are still charging at a painfully slow rate. But despite the fact that I arguably had a horrible time with that, I still had great fun. And that's the joy of roguelites, is that even when you're having a terrible time, you want to push through. You sort of go, but the next upgrade could be a good one. And, you know, then I could turn it around and it may not happen, but it might, you know, it might. It's a really good time. I really hope that they update it with maybe some more palettes and stuff like that. That would be really cool, but I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting that this is kind of like, this is it. And that's still fine. It's still really good, but yeah, just missed the mark of greatness this time. Nintendo, I know you can do better, but you've still done a bloody good job. Agent 8's story continues in the drab and colorless world of the memeverse. God. I knew I'd say that.